Hey everyone, so today I'm covering an Offerwall offer I recently completed for a game called Fortress Merge through Swagbucks. Going through these tasks, I only completed the ones that didn't require a purchase because the purchase ones aren't really worth it as far as the rewards go and how much you have to spend to get them. I will showcase in hopping into the game in a second though where you can get those. All the other just milestones you have to do are just going to be progressing through the campaign goals. All right, so hopping into the game, just going to show you real quick where you can find that gem pack number 2 and then how to purchase the Heavenly Gear set if you did want to. So this gem pack 2 is this one for $4.99 for 500 gems. That's the gem pack 2, and then scrolling up here, the Heavenly Gear set also is $4.99 that you can get the Heavenly Gear equipment set that you can use for your hero. But once again, I didn't end up doing that just because it wasn't really worth it as far as what you ended up spending and what rewards you ended up getting. Now, just a quick note, I am going to dive into a couple of important mechanics in this video and what I recommend doing, but I have a playlist linked below where I've posted a bunch of videos over the last couple of weeks just diving into different mechanics of the game and sharing some tips. I'd recommend checking that as well, just because it can definitely help you avoid getting stuck and then just using certain resources strategically. So the rest of the goals I completed for this offer, as I mentioned, were just progressing through levels with different milestones all the way up to level 250. So overall, I wouldn't say the game gets drastically harder, but there were a couple of levels that required me to change my strategy a bit and just make sure I had important stuff leveled up, like my skill tree. I'm just down here at the bottom of the screen, as well as my hero or my hero equipment, as well as troops. As you progress through the game, you are going to unlock different buildings that you can end up using in levels. One thing to note, each of the buildings aren't available in every level. For example, if we go just to different levels right here, you can see this one has a lot of those unit production buildings, some Tesla coils, a catapult. But like in later levels, you're going to get like a triple turret, or you're not going to get a catapult. So each building does have different use cases, and you're going to have to be comfortable just trying to play around with different strategies. So you're just going to have to work with what you have available. One thing you're always going to have available is your hero after the second wave of every level. So learning to strategically play with and upgrade your hero and the gear related to the hero is very crucial, just because especially later in the game, the hero just makes a giant difference. You can really just progress through a lot of levels easily if you have a hero upgraded. You don't necessarily have to use a particular hero. I believe it should work with either fine. You can play around with the gear as well. Different gear sets, they're all pretty good. They just have different gameplay mechanics. They work a little differently. I did choose to just focus on the archer hero, Jean, I'm not really sure how to say it. I was a little biased just towards the archer hero because of the range, and I feel like she was slightly less likely to get into a jam and just get herself killed. But especially against large groups of range enemies, it did still happen a bit where she would get caught out, and then they'd all just crowd her and beat her, which isn't great. But really, one of the biggest things I would emphasize is just making sure you get your hero as strong as possible, because a strong hero can make progressing through the game just significantly easier. So I'm going to be honest, once I got going and got a couple of key upgrades, I didn't really struggle with the game much in progressing through levels. In the first 100 or so levels, I do remember having to retry a level a couple of times. But one of the things I would just be aware of is sometimes you just get a bad roll as far as your initial buildings you get hopping into a level. So right here, I would just say this is actually a pretty good roll because I got this archer camp, I got a triple turret, but sometimes you might just get like a mine, a wall, and 1 damage dealing building. So sometimes you might just get a rough roll, but there's no penalty. It's not like there's an energy system. it's really easy to just exit the level, re-hop into it, and try and just get a better initial roll as far as your buildings. Overall, I would say on like 95% of the levels, I just beat it on my first try, and it wasn't a big deal, especially later into the game, with the exception of sometimes I had struggles with the first wave or two. But once I cleared wave two, got my hero, it was pretty easy from there. Overall, I thought the game was pretty fun, and the offer milestones were pretty easy to complete. It did take a little time just because you have to beat 250 levels, but each level isn't super long. It is something you have to be actively engaged to a degree, at least for each wave, just because it's not like it auto progresses through each wave. So I have to go enter in a level, and then I have to I have to play through a wave, I have to start the wave, and then once I end up beating that wave, I have to do that same process for the next wave. It did take a little time, but I did just make sure I was beating about 10 levels a day, 15 levels a day, which wasn't really hard at all. And so I stayed well on track. There wasn't like any major hiccups I ran into. But that's it for this video. Good luck. Let me know if you have any questions. And remember, I do have additional guide videos linked down below just to provide any more information if that's helpful. Thanks for watching.